Heart disease rarely begins with pain, it begins silently. Year after year, tiny fatty deposits slowly build inside the arteries carrying blood to your heart. Most people don't feel a thing. No warning, no alarm. Until one day, blood struggles to get through. That's why millions of people spend billions every year searching for the perfect solution. Low-fat diets, expensive supplements, cholesterol pills, green powders, superfood capsules, one product after another, each promising cleaner arteries and a healthier heart. Yet many people still ask the same question. Is there anything natural that actually supports healthy arteries? Here's what's fascinating. Long before cholesterol was discovered, long before cardiologists, long before anyone understood blood vessels, the Bible described foods that people ate almost every single day. Foods modern researchers are now studying for how they may support heart and blood vessel health. Not because ancient people understood LDL cholesterol, not because they knew about oxidative stress, because generation after generation noticed something simple. Some foods seem to help people stay strong and live long. Today, science is beginning to explain why. In this video, we're counting down 10 biblical foods that modern research suggests may support healthier arteries as part of an overall healthy diet and lifestyle. Quick note, these aren't miracle cures, and they won't magically erase plaque overnight. Heart disease is complex, and if you're dealing with a medical condition, always work with your healthcare provider. But stay with me until number 1, because it isn't just another food. It's an ancient biblical eating pattern that quietly combines many of the foods on today's list into one remarkably heart-friendly meal. And once you see how these foods naturally work together, you may never look at the biblical dinner table the same way again. Let's begin. Every second, your heart pumps blood through roughly 60,000 miles of blood vessels. That's enough to circle the earth more than twice. Those arteries deliver oxygen and nutrients to every organ that keeps you alive. But over time, poor diet, smoking, inactivity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and other factors can damage artery walls, allowing fatty plaque to build up. Healthy arteries stay flexible. Healthy arteries allow blood to flow efficiently. Healthy arteries reduce strain on your heart. No single food can guarantee healthy arteries, but consistently eating foods rich in fiber, healthy fats, antioxidants, and beneficial plant compounds may help support cardiovascular health over time. That's exactly what today's countdown is about. One more reminder before we begin, we're sharing educational information, not personal medical advice. Now, let's start with a food most people completely overlook. Number 10. Garlic, the humble bulb that refused to be forgotten. When the Israelites looked back on life in Egypt, they didn't miss expensive desserts. They didn't miss luxury meals. Surprisingly, they missed garlic. It's mentioned alongside onions and leeks in Numbers chapter 11, a reminder of just how important this humble food was in everyday biblical life. At first glance, that seems almost strange. Why would people remember garlic after leaving an entire nation behind? Modern science may offer part of the answer. When fresh garlic is crushed, it creates a natural sulfur compound called allicin. Researchers have spent decades studying allicin because of its potential role in supporting cardiovascular health. Some studies suggest garlic may help support healthy blood pressure already within the normal range, while others have explored its relationship with cholesterol metabolism and healthy blood vessel function. Here's something most people never hear. Garlic doesn't actually contain much allicin. It creates allicin only after you crush it. The moment the clove is damaged, natural enzymes begin forming this remarkable compound. Ancient cooks obviously didn't understand the chemistry, yet many of them instinctively crushed garlic before adding it to food. Sometimes tradition discovers the right habit centuries before science explains it. There's another reason garlic deserves its place on this list. It doesn't work alone. Throughout biblical regions, garlic was almost always eaten with olive oil, barley, herbs, onions, and legumes. Modern nutrition keeps pointing toward the same conclusion. Healthy eating patterns matter more than individual miracle foods. If you're using fresh garlic, try crushing it and letting it rest for about 10 minutes before cooking. That simple step allows more of those natural compounds to develop. Simple, traditional, still remarkably relevant. But garlic is only warming us up, because the next food on this list wasn't merely eaten, it became one of the most valuable symbols of blessing, prosperity, and long life throughout Scripture. Number 9. Olives, the fruit that protected a civilization. Few foods appear throughout the Bible as often as olives. Olive trees covered the hills of ancient Israel. Families harvested them every year. Kings were anointed with olive oil. The dove returned to Noah carrying an olive leaf. The Mount of Olives became one of the most important locations in Jesus' ministry. Clearly, olives weren't ordinary food. They were part of everyday survival. Modern science has become equally fascinated. Olives naturally contain monounsaturated fats along with powerful plant compounds called polyphenols. Researchers continue studying these compounds for how they may help protect blood vessels from oxidative stress, a process believed to contribute to the development of atherosclerosis over time. Here's an incredible detail. Fresh olives straight from the tree are surprisingly bitter. So bitter, in fact, that most people can't eat them without curing them first. Why? Because they're packed with a natural compound called oleuropein. That bitterness ancient people patiently removed is also one of the compounds modern scientists have spent years investigating. Sometimes the very thing nature makes taste unpleasant turns out to be remarkably interesting biologically. Olives also teach another forgotten lesson. Biblical families didn't consume healthy fats occasionally. They consumed them consistently, small amounts, every day, over an entire lifetime. Health wasn't built during a 30-day challenge. It was built meal after meal, year after year, generation after generation. And speaking of generations, the next food became so valuable that vineyards shaped the economy of entire kingdoms. Yet its greatest treasure wasn't the juice. It was hidden inside something no larger than your fingertip. Number 8. Grapes, the fruit hidden in every vineyard. Across the pages of Scripture, few plants appear more often than the vine. Noah planted a vineyard. The Promised Land was described by its abundant grape clusters. Jesus called himself the true vine. Grapes weren't luxury food, they were part of everyday biblical life, fresh, dried into raisins, or pressed into juice. Today, researchers continue studying grapes because they're naturally rich in plant compounds called polyphenols. One of the most well-known is resveratrol. Scientists have investigated these compounds for their potential role in helping protect blood vessels from oxidative stress and supporting healthy circulation. Here's something fascinating. The deepest colored grapes often contain the highest concentration of these protective compounds in their skins. That's one reason nutrition experts usually recommend eating the whole grape rather than drinking heavily processed juice. But grapes offer something else many people overlook. They also contain natural potassium and fiber. Fiber helps support healthy cholesterol levels as part of an overall balanced diet, while potassium helps maintain normal blood pressure, both important for long-term cardiovascular health. Ancient families didn't isolate nutrients. They simply ate the fruit that grew around them. Fresh grapes during harvest, raisins during the colder months. One simple food, available almost year-round. Modern researchers continue discovering just how valuable that habit may have been. If you're watching your blood sugar, enjoy grapes in moderate portions as part of a balanced meal rather than by themselves. Sometimes, the simplest foods hiding in plain sight turn out to be some of the most impressive. But grapes were only one piece of the biblical table, because the next food wasn't harvested from vines. It flowed from trees and became one of the most treasured foods in all of Scripture. Number 7. Extra virgin olive oil, liquid gold. Few foods appear in Scripture more often than olive oil. Kings were anointed with it, travelers carried it, families cooked with it. The Good Samaritan even poured oil onto wounds. Olive trees became symbols of peace, blessing, and long life. That wasn't an accident. Olive oil was one of the most valuable everyday foods in the ancient world. Today, it's also one of the most researched. Scientists continue studying extra virgin olive oil because it's packed with natural plant compounds called polyphenols. One of them, oleocanthal, has attracted particular interest because laboratory research suggests it interacts with certain inflammatory pathways. Why does that matter? Because chronic inflammation is believed to play an important role in the gradual development of cardiovascular disease. Olive oil also provides healthy monounsaturated fats. Unlike many highly processed fats common today, these fats have been consistently associated with heart-healthy dietary patterns like the Mediterranean diet. Perhaps that's why populations eating traditional Mediterranean-style diets have long attracted scientific interest for cardiovascular health and longevity. Here's another detail most people never think about. Many vitamins found in vegetables require dietary fat for proper absorption. Without healthy fats, your body simply can't use some nutrients as efficiently. So olive oil doesn't just bring its own benefits, it helps unlock the value of everything else on your plate. Think back through biblical meals, vegetables, garlic, barley, herbs, beans. Almost everything was finished with olive oil. It quietly connected the entire meal together. Quality matters. Authentic extra virgin olive oil retains far more of its naturally occurring compounds than heavily refined oils. Sometimes the healthiest upgrade isn't adding something new. It's replacing something processed with something ancient. But olive oil isn't the oldest heart food on this list. The next one was so valuable, it became a symbol of blessing itself. Number 6. Pomegranate, the jewel of Scripture. Walk into Solomon's temple, and you'd see pomegranates carved into its pillars. Look at the robes of Israel's high priest. You'd find embroidered pomegranates decorating the hem. This fruit wasn't chosen by accident. Across the biblical world, the pomegranate symbolized life, fruitfulness, and abundance. Modern science has uncovered another reason it deserves attention. Pomegranates are packed with powerful polyphenols. Among the most studied are compounds called punicalagins. Researchers have investigated these unique antioxidants because of their ability to help protect cells from oxidative stress. Why is oxidative stress important? Over time, it can contribute to damage inside blood vessels. Scientists believe reducing that stress is one important piece of maintaining healthy arteries. But here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Your gut bacteria actually transform many pomegranate compounds into new substances. In other words, your microbiome finishes the job that the fruit begins. Ancient people had no idea, yet once again, they were eating foods perfectly matched to the biology we understand today. Fresh pomegranate seeds provide fiber. Juice provides antioxidants. Both have attracted attention from cardiovascular researchers. No, this isn't a miracle fruit, but it may be one of nature's most impressive combinations of fiber and protective plant compounds. Its brilliant red color isn't just beautiful. In plants, deep colors often signal high concentrations of beneficial phytochemicals. Nature has been advertising healthy foods all along. Most of us simply stop paying attention. But one biblical food may have nourished the cardiovascular system even more consistently because people didn't eat it seasonally. They ate it almost every single day. Number 5. Barley, the grain that stayed with you. When Jesus fed the 5,000, John's Gospel quietly includes one small detail. The loaves were made from barley, not refined white bread. Barley, that matters. Barley wasn't considered luxury food, it was everyday, the grain of farmers, workers, travelers, people who needed steady energy. Today we know barley is one of the richest natural sources of beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that's become one of nutrition science's favorite subjects. Beta-glucan forms a gentle gel during digestion that slows the absorption of carbohydrates. It also helps support healthy cholesterol levels as part of an overall balanced diet. Here's why scientists find that exciting. When cholesterol remains within a healthy range, it's easier for arteries to stay healthy too. But barley doesn't stop there. The same fiber also feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Those bacteria produce compounds like butyrate, which researchers continue studying for their role in supporting gut and overall metabolic health. Notice something remarkable. One biblical grain supports both the gut and the heart, long before anyone knew those two systems were connected. Today we understand that heart health and gut health influence one another far more than scientists once believed. Ancient meals quietly supported both. If you've never cooked barley, it's surprisingly versatile. Add it to soups, stews, salads, or simply use it instead of white rice once or twice a week. One ancient grain, still solving modern problems. But now we're entering the top 4. And these next foods aren't just nutritious, they were among the most treasured foods in all of Scripture. Coming next, Number 4. Fatty fish, the sea's gift to the heart. Several of Jesus' disciples were fishermen. Fish appeared repeatedly throughout the Gospels. Crowds were fed with it. Families depended on it. And for many people living around the Sea of Galilee, it was one of the most reliable everyday foods. Today, scientists continue studying oily fish because they're naturally rich in omega-3 fatty acids. These healthy fats have been associated with supporting normal triglyceride levels and overall cardiovascular health as part of a balanced diet. Unlike many processed foods, fish provides complete protein along with nutrients like selenium, iodine, and vitamin D. Here's something remarkable. Ancient people didn't know the word omega-3, they simply ate what was available. Yet their traditional meals naturally included one of the nutrients modern cardiologists recommend people consume regularly: grilled fish paired with barley, olive oil, fresh herbs, and vegetables. Simple combinations, repeated for generations. Sometimes the healthiest meal isn't complicated, it's simply traditional. But even fish wasn't the most impressive heart food in Scripture. The next one grows on trees, hidden inside a shell. Number 3, walnuts, nature's heart-shaped gift. Although almonds receive more attention in Scripture, walnuts have been enjoyed throughout the biblical region for thousands of years, and modern science has given them a remarkable reputation. Walnuts are one of the few nuts naturally rich in plant-based omega-3 fats. They're also packed with antioxidants, fiber, magnesium, and beneficial polyphenols. Researchers continue studying walnuts for their potential role in supporting healthy cholesterol levels and blood vessel function when eaten as part of a heart-healthy diet. Here's something fascinating. If you split a walnut in half, its shape looks surprisingly similar to the human brain. For centuries, people noticed the resemblance. Today, science values walnuts for something even more important, their nutritional profile. A small handful each day may provide meaningful amounts of healthy fats without relying on processed snacks. Ancient families didn't snack on packaged foods. They reached for foods exactly like these, simple, natural, and satisfying. But one biblical fruit quietly offered something walnuts couldn't: natural sweetness, fiber, and remarkable nourishment. Number 2, figs, the sweet fruit that nourished generations. Few fruits appear throughout Scripture as often as figs. Jesus spoke about fig trees. People rested beneath them. Families dried figs to preserve them for months. In biblical times, figs weren't treats. They were everyday nourishment. Modern nutrition explains why. Figs naturally provide fiber, potassium, magnesium, and protective plant compounds. Fiber supports digestive health and may also help support healthy cholesterol levels as part of a balanced diet. Potassium plays an important role in maintaining normal blood pressure. Here's something fascinating. Fresh figs are wonderful, but dried figs become even more concentrated in minerals and fiber. That's one reason travelers valued them so highly. They stored well, required no refrigeration, and provided lasting energy. Ancient wisdom once again meets modern nutrition. Simple foods, prepared naturally, used consistently. And now, we've reached number 1. It isn't one food at all. It's the entire biblical pattern that quietly brings every food on today's list together. Number 1, the biblical heart plate. The ancient meal to modern cardiology keeps rediscovering. Here's something remarkable. The Bible never gives us a heart health diet. Instead, it simply shows us what ordinary families ate: barley, olive oil, garlic, fish, figs, pomegranates, walnuts, beans, fresh herbs, vegetables. When you step back, a clear pattern begins to appear. Whole foods, healthy fats, fiber-rich grains, colorful fruits, very little processing. Picture the meal: a bowl of warm barley, drizzled with extra virgin olive oil, fresh herbs, grilled fish, a handful of walnuts, fresh pomegranate seeds, a few dried figs to finish the meal. Nothing exotic, nothing expensive, just real food. Modern researchers increasingly agree that dietary patterns matter far more than any single superfood. One healthy ingredient won't erase years of poor habits, but ordinary foods, eaten consistently over many years, can make an extraordinary difference. Maybe that's why biblical eating continues attracting scientific attention thousands of years later. Not because it's trendy, because it's sustainable. It was never designed as a diet. It was simply a way of life. So what have we learned today? That some of Scripture's oldest foods are still among its most valuable: fatty fish, walnuts, barley, garlic, olive oil, pomegranates, and finally, the complete biblical way of eating that quietly brings them all together. None of these foods magically erase plaque overnight. None replace medical care. None should be seen as a cure for heart disease. But together, they point toward something our ancestors seemed to understand long before modern medicine could explain it. Heart health isn't built by one miracle ingredient. It's built meal by meal, day after day, year after year. If one food from today's countdown surprised you, tell us in the comments. I'd love to know which one you'll try first. And if you enjoy discovering where ancient biblical wisdom meets modern nutritional science, make sure you subscribe. Because next week, we're uncovering another forgotten biblical health secret, one that's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. Until then, take care of your heart. It's been faithfully taking care of you every second of your life. So what have we actually discovered today? That some of the oldest foods mentioned in Scripture are still among the most respected by modern nutritional science: fatty fish, walnuts, barley, garlic, olive oil, pomegranates, and finally, the simple biblical pattern of eating that quietly brings them all together. Notice something. Not one of these foods was exotic. Not one required a prescription. Not one came from a laboratory. They were ordinary food shared around ordinary tables by ordinary families. Yet together, they created a way of eating that has stood the test of thousands of years. Modern medicine continues saving lives every single day. But modern research is also reminding us of something our ancestors seem to understand instinctively. Health isn't usually built by one miracle food. It's built by thousands of ordinary meals. Meal after meal, year after year. That's why the healthiest diets in the world don't rely on magic. They rely on consistency. So if today's video inspired you, don't try changing everything overnight. Start with one swap. Replace a processed cooking oil with extra virgin olive oil. Add barley instead of refined grains once this week. Eat a handful of walnuts as a snack. Enjoy fresh pomegranate when it's in season. Small changes, repeated consistently, often become lifelong habits. And lifelong habits are what protect the heart. I'd love to know, which biblical food surprised you the most? Was it garlic, barley, or the incredible science behind pomegranates? Leave your answer in the comments. I read as many of them as I can. And if you enjoy discovering where ancient biblical wisdom meets modern nutritional science, subscribe and join us. Every week we uncover another forgotten health secret hidden in Scripture and compare it with what today's researchers are only now beginning to understand. Because sometimes, the oldest wisdom turns out to be the most timeless. Until next time, take care of your heart. After all, it's the only one you'll ever have. Fade to black.